Hello everyone, my name is Colton, and in this video I'm going to be giving a brief demonstration of my repository that I've been working on called Talon AI Tools. So this is essentially a way that we can query different AI technologies all through voice commands using Talon Voice. And I believe that there's a lot of different potential uses for this, but it really helps to speed up your workflow, especially if you're doing a lot of voice dictation or voice coding. So let's just get right into it and I can show you a brief example. Wake up. Control Air, model fix grammar, Control Air, model please translate this into Japanese, drowsy. So you can see there that we can essentially select text. It can be in whatever application we want, and we can provide any sort of transformation upon it given what we say in a prompt. So we have a list of prompts that are built in such that you don't have to copy and paste things that are super common into the ChatGPT window, copy it back and forth. This really helps reduce a lot of friction. And you can see here as well, if we say model please, and then give it some sort of arbitrary text, then we can apply some sort of arbitrary prompt on the data. So once again, this is useful if we're in PowerPoint, if we're in Excel, if we're in a code editor, in your browser, it can be wherever. So I think really the potential for this is really reducing the amount of friction. So let's show an example as well of just the different sort of prompts that are built in. Wake up, model help, drowsy. So you can see here that we have a list of different prompts that are built into the repository. These are useful for a lot of people who are voice coding or doing different sort of voice accessibility technology. But you can see here that we can fix grammar with different tonalities. We can format as a table or bullet points. This is super useful if you're writing a lot of markdown because it allows you to do a lot of manipulations that would otherwise be a little bit tedious. We can also do things like explaining, summarize, just different ways of generating text. Specifically, it can be super useful to generate different shell commands, which I'll show an example of in a second, but converting between file types, there's just a lot of potential here, and we can do so much with such brief voice commands, and we don't have to copy and paste between different applications. So the next example I'm going to show here is how we can integrate some AI functionality in our editor alongside Cursorless. Wake up, pilot explain block whale, drowsy. So we can essentially apply any / command from GitHub Copilot and apply it to any cursorless target. So this can be used to explain things, document things, add more context. It can be used to do a lot of really powerful functionality, and essentially this can be all done using the properties of cursorless that you might already be aware of if you use Talon for programming. So the next example I want to show here is how we can integrate the model with shell commands. So once again, if you're not a programmer, you can effectively skip this, but one of the challenges with the shell programming is that a lot of the commands aren't natural language, so it's pretty difficult to dictate. However, by using prompts and passing them to the model, we can really improve a lot of this shell workflow and speed it up even with things that are relatively specific. So let me show an example. Wake up. Model shell generate a list of all the Python functions recursively from the current directory. Paste model output. Enter. Drowsy. So there you can see we were able to run a query that was relatively specific, and it indeed did give all the functionality back that we were looking for. So the last category I want to show off here is how we can use some of the AI functionality for image description to help individuals that might have blindness or vision impairment. And this is a way by which we can describe what is on the screen using different AI functionality and then have it echoed back to the user. So let's show a quick example of how we can describe everything within the current window on the screen. Wake up. Echo describe window.
Echo describe window. The image displays a screenshot of the Visual Studio Code VS Code integrated development environment ID. The main content of the screenshot shows a terminal panel with a command line interface where the user has navigated to a directory called type 3 Talon on the left side and executed the ls command which lists the contents of the directory. Some items appear to drowsy Talon asleep.
So you can see here how the model is able to output the image and its description for us in the browser. So This is going to be useful for individuals with visual impairments, and we also have different prompts, for instance, for individuals who might be colorblind, but also individuals that might not have a visual impairment. For instance, if they want to break down what's on the screen in terms of HTML or React components, there's a lot of different possibilities here. I'm really excited to see what comes of it, not just for accessibility, but also just for ways of generally improving and thinking about different ways of interacting with our computer. So now that we've gone through some of the different functionality in the repository, I want to show you briefly how to set it up. So the first thing you want to do is to download and install both Talon and the associated community repository. I suggest you look on the wiki for that because there's a lot of established tutorials. After that, what you want to do is to set up the different integrations. So for any sort of GPT integration, it's pretty simple. All you want to do is to get an API key from OpenAI. Then once you get that, you'll just create a Python file anywhere in your user directory and paste it in. That's pretty much all you need to do to get the GPT functionality set up. And that's going to allow you to do any command that's prefixed with the word model. So asking questions, applying prompts, applying just general text information. You can do a lot of things here, and it's going to be all coming from the GPT integration. The next thing you can set up is Copilot. This is going to be pretty straightforward. You just install Copilot in VS Code, and there's nothing more to do, assuming you have that Copilot subscription. Then, in terms of images, there's nothing to set up there if you've already set up the OpenAI API, because it's all going through OpenAI. And then finally, anything with text-to-speech is going to be coming from my site-free Talon repository, which is a repository that integrates text-to-speech with Talon. So you just have to install that, and then especially if you're a user with a visual impairment, once you get that set up, then you will have all the functionality you need to make Talon a bit more accessible for low vision contexts. Yeah, so that's an overview of the repository. I hope this is going to be useful for a lot of people. I found it to be really helpful fixing errors in dictation and just making my coding through voice go a lot faster. In general, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out on Slack or to file an issue on the GitHub repository. Yeah, so in general, thanks for checking out my project, and I hope it's useful for you.